Well, welcome. This is Hangar Rash again. What I've been doing all day is what everybody needs to do, sanding. It's a never-ending job. I thought, there's not really a whole lot to show, so this is going to be a quick one. All I've been doing all day long is sanding all these parts flat. And what do I mean by sanding them flat? Well, I have my T-bar that I made. The seams, like in this rudder, offer a challenge because there's always a bump, because it's hard CA or what have you. Well, the tissue leaves just enough thickness to sand and fill that seam in. When you look at this rudder or flap or wing or whatever you're standing on, you're looking to take all the highs off. So you're turning it all basically dull, flat. And that's where the weight savings comes in. Well, several places. First off, we're already turning it white, so it won't take much white paint to make it white. And we're sanding it smooth so that it won't take much paint to fill it. Now I have some issues back here. Where the silk fan, it's going to take another coat of dope on the trailing edge there. But you don't want to keep piling the dope on. You want to, I just sanded that. I will just daub that with the clear dope, clear white dope. Because if I continue to put paint on this all over, we're adding a lot of unnecessary weight that we just don't need to. It's been about, 5-6 hours since the last coat of dope. And it's powdering off pretty good. Finish on this airplane is going to be better than my last one. I can tell already. And how do I know that? More sanding. I've sanded more on this than I did the other one. Now it does take a certain amount of paint to make a good paint job, but you certainly don't want to put any more than you have to on it. So there's a little pinhole there. We'll get some actual green on that. But you definitely want to stay off that as much as possible. And there's a little blemish in the tissue. This will get another coat. I know that these videos are pretty boring, and so that's why I put in the title "Hangar Rash Sanding," because that's all it is. It's boring sanding. This one. Go ahead and get some more dope on this piece here, one coat. on, get in there. Had a lot of good questions on the last Hangar Rash about what I'm using for filler, which is nothing, and how much there's some coming up there, so it definitely needs another coat of dope. The paper is not quite down far enough, good enough. I've already went over the wing, sanded it. I don't think I'm going to hit it with another coat of dope. I think it's I think the wing is pretty much as far as I want to go. It's 4 coats of dope on the wing, and I just don't want to put any more paint on it because it's chalky. You can see my hands are kind of dirty, but you can see the chalk come up. So that's where you want to be. You want to make sure all the paper's down real good and it's sanded out real good. I do need some aqua green there and some filler or some dope on the tips, but we're not gonna go too crazy. This is already 3.5 ounces. Let's see if it lost any weight from sitting. Now this is on the business end. This is all the way at the back, so you don't want to load this up with dope. It went down 1/10. It's 345. So it gassed off slightly, but we're going to put it back on right now. I'm sure. So when you're building an elevator stabilizer, it's got to be, before you start, 3 ounces. No more than 3 ounces. I haven't built them. This one was 2.75. I haven't built them much lighter than that. So to try to refrain from slopping it on, we're still on our original quart of dope. That's all the dope I get. And I still have a fuselage to cover, so that'll work out about right. It'll take about half a quart to do the fuselage. And that's going to yield the lightest finish that you can do. Let's see. Then it's put it on and sand it off. Pretty boring stuff. But you guys wanted to see how I finish. So I've shown every step of the way except for the lengthy hours of sanding. Because I don't think anybody could sit through that. Pretty boring stuff. Watching some old dude rub on a toy. Okay, well, I got that pretty much taken care of. You see, if you look here, you can see that when I put it on, it doesn't change it white. It's just tinted. And that's about as light a finish as you're going to get. We're not. If it was white paint that I was painting on, it would probably weigh a ton already. And don't forget to do the inside of the trailing edge. You want to get paint on the tips real good because we're going to sand those again. Dope is the lightest finish, but it's also the most labor intensive. Now back when I was younger, we used to boil dope. You didn't hear that here. And paint the airplanes upside down. You say, what the hell does that do? Well, that's an old furniture finisher's trick. Put in a double boiler and get the dope pretty hot, paint it upside down so the paint didn't soak into the wood. It's too dangerous. Quit doing that probably 20 years ago. Good evening, Alan. I hope you're enjoying the boring sessions of doping and sanding and doping and painting and sanding and doping and sanding. I should have done the test piece for you guys to show you the difference on how this tinted clear brings this balsa wood to white. By the time this airplane's put together, standoff, it'll look white. It just, like here, it has a little, where the acro green was, it's a little darker. You can see some green through it. It's literally one coat of dope and it's white. Shine, don't worry about the shine. You just worry about the coverage. Because the shine will come from your 3 coats of clear dope you got left. It's actually 4, but so it's get the airplane together, shoot it white, 1 coat, and that's all I use is 1 coat, 1/2 pint. So it mixes up to a pint of color. 1/2 pint thinned, mixes to a pint. Paint all that on there. It's 1 coat, 1/2 a jar. Half a jar of 1/2 a mason jar. So you get that much white, thin to that high, spray that on, you get the whole airplane white. Put your trim colors on. That doesn't take but, half a pint in trim colors. It doesn't take any paint. And then you have your 1 pint of clear mixed to a quart. And that's your top coat. And you use all that up so you get one coat on the airplane. Do all your inking. And first you sand it. Try to sand out all the edges of the trim. Lay them off. You got to sand that with 2000 or 1500. You don't want to go any more aggressive than that. Oh, shoot. And then, damn. And then spray the rest of the clear on that you got, sanding between each coat, and then the real sanding begins with the 2000, 3000, and 5000, and then the polishing. And that's the lightest finish you can do. You can't do any lighter. If there is, I'd like to see it. Now, I think I'll go ahead and do one more coat on this, on these spots. Let's see what this says over here. Frank's model. Hey, is that silk span, poly span on your wing? This is silk span. The paper on these is Dr. paper. But Dr. paper would have worked fine on this. I just happen to have some silk span, so I used it up. And I'll try to show what about flat here as soon as I get this on here. I'll get the camera moving and show you what I mean by flat. I just want to make sure to get this silk span or Dr. paper laid down good so we don't have an issue with it coming up. Let me put this over here. Well, the tutorial's been quite long. Because it's covered everything. I mean, it's over several hours. But I can't do it. I mean, I could edit it down, but I just don't want to monkey with editing. Okay, these turned out good so far. We'll see what happens when we sand them. Let me clean out the brush here, and I'll show you what I mean by flat. So, hope you can hear me still. So I'm going to try to get a camera angle here, and we'll see if we can see what flat is. I'm not sure I can show it. You look across this. Good evening, Alex. If you look across this, all the cap strips, there's no gaps, there's no bumps. This area is completely flat. There's not any lumps or whatever. It's nice, It's nice and even. And how you get it that way is that long sanding bar going across all the cap strips at the same time. Of course, it helps to cut the ribs right too. But get the cap strips all done. And special detail to these edges here. And the paper fills in, and I also I had a couple spots here that didn't have a good gap, so I put superfill in them, and I spent some time sanding. There's one there, and I think there's one up here and one here. But I spent time sanding those areas, and if you remember, I did special attention kind of poor light here to show this, but special attention to these areas here. You can't feel that. Remember, if you can feel it, you'll be able to see it. You can't feel this. This area right here is a problem on everybody's airplanes, and the joint back here on everybody's airplanes is a problem. That sticks out, especially with one season in the sun. Bam, that joint jumps out at you. There, wingtips. I have a little bit of work to do on that. There's a lump on the wingtip right here on that side, which will come out relatively easy with block sanding. And that's just the nature of the beast. If you look right there, that's filler, because it was a low spot there. You just get on the block. I mean, you can't feel it. You can see it because it's darker. But just go like that. You can't feel any of these, so it's good shape. Now, over here on the tip here, that hard spot's sticking out right there. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. Probably sand through the tissue and take another coat of dope. But the wingtips, John, if you're watching, they turned out real nice. That's a good way to do them. I think there'd be one more change to it on the next one. And the next change that I'll make is I'll do a perimeter right here. Because there's a, you know, it's getting pretty particular. There's a slight variation where it would have been nice to have a hard line right there. But it's past the point now where I'm going to worry about it. We'll just let it go on the next one. I'll do it different. Continually try to strive on each model to change one thing. What one thing can you do? What did you learn from your last airplane that you could change and make the next one better? I've been working on them tips. This is an I-beam wing tip, because there's no lighter tip than an I-beam wing tip. It's a 1/2 inch balsa perimeter, and that's it. 7 grams. So they don't look good on a built-up wing. So we've been putting the blocks on the leading edge, you know, to run the sheeting out. Yeah, that looked pretty good. And then I ran them open where the tissue just fell off, like the I-beam wing. That didn't look real good. So then I put a different turn on the thing, and yeah, that worked a little better. And so this is the third iteration of this tip. And so I think on the 4th iteration, this tip, I'll have it down to a science where it looks ultra primo. But it did take 4 airplanes to get it there. This one's going to look okay. It looks better than the other two, but not quite as good as it could, in my opinion. But that's just the way it goes. So I've been working on the flaps, making sure they're free. The problem with using ball links, as I've stated, is that you have a 1/4 inch of friction on the bearing. That's a pretty big surface. If you use 3/32 wire, you cut that friction surface in half. You only have an 1/8 inch bearing surface. So what's going to drag more, 1/8 or 1/4? So I think I'm going to go back to 100% the old way. The next horns we make, they'll be made bushed. The weight of the wing so far is 14 ounces. Let me see. We gained about 2 ounces. I'll figure it out for you, how much in tissue and dope on the wing. And I'm okay up to 16 ounces finished for a light airplane. So .4 ounces. So let's see how much it gained from the tissue. .7 ounces it gained from the tissue and the dope. So that tells you how much paint actually weighs. The elevator stabilizer, it gained. Let's see, it weighs 3.5 minus 2.75. It gained 3/4 of an ounce. So far this finish weighs 3 ounces. We got 3 ounces left to go on paint. So this finish may come out 7 ounces instead of 6, depending on how much I sand. So I hope that answered the question. These finishes run 6 ounces from bare wood up. You know, people say I'm lying, but I'm not. And this will gas off a little bit, you know, not a considerable amount, but it'll come down some. So basically, let's do the let's figure it out here. What did I say it was? 0.75 clear, 14.4 minus 11.75 plus 0.75. We're just at 3.4 ounces in finish now. So I'd say that it's going to take an ounce to finish the fuselage, because there's not much area there. So we'll add, so that's 4.4 clear, 4.4 clear, 6 ounces, 6 minus 4.4, that's 2 ounces of clear. So it's gonna run about 6.5 ounce finish. 2 ounces of clear. That's 3 coats. That's about right. So we might end up with a 7-ounce finish, but it ain't no 10-ounce or 16-ounce finish. And it'll shine like a jewel. And part of that, from this stage, is the sanding. How much am I going to sand off this paint? So when I leave this video tonight, I will continue to sand. And the sanding is where it's at. That's what brings the weight down. That and the diet. You know, if you want a super nice finished model, you got to sand. If you want a light model, you got to not put any paint on it. So how do you paint without using paint? You're on a diet and your vast rolls of sandpaper. This is your best friend right here. And this is the best sandpaper I've ever used. I like this stuff a lot. It's professional body shop sandpaper. It's not like what you buy at the store. It's about 30 bucks for a roll. That'll last you a year. Some of you guys, it'll last 10 years. But normally this I buy one roll of these a year and one roll of 80 grit a year. And I really need to buy some 180 or 220 in the sticky bag. I talk about chrome all the time. Chrome is what the hell did I say it was? 50 millionths thick. All the chrome on every car you see on the street will fit in the palm of your hand because it's an electroplating process. Those chrome parts look chrome before they're put in the tank of chrome. They're polished. All the pits are sanded out of them and then put on a buffer and polished. So the chrome is just a protective skin. Well, that's basically what I'm doing here. I've got to get this paint, this paper, and all these bumps and stuff out of this. It's got to be polished so that a real nice, light, thin coat of paint can go on here. And you don't have to have 200 coats of paint to fill all the boogers that you didn't sand out. Obviously, this is more than 50 millionths thick. I think a paint job ends up about 2 or 3 mil. So it's, you know, I'd have to have a gauge, but if you were here and could look at this, you could see that all the grain is filled and all the shiny spots are getting knocked down. You want to keep sanding until all them shiny spots are gone. The orange peel, but it's not orange peel, but that's the only way I can describe it. Till it looks like a piece of plastic. Because I'll guarantee you, I will guarantee you that if I didn't want to paint this white, I could still make it shine. All I got to do is take my buffer and make it shine. Because it's flat and it's dope, and even though it's no color, it'll shine. It would polish and shine, and that's basically what you want. Let's see if we can get a look at this up close. I doubt it, but we'll try. If you look here, it's kind of modelly, and you know, it's not real even or whatever. But if you look here, I don't know if you can candle it or what. You can see that this is flat like plastic. That whole wing has to be like this before I shoot it. So how much weight are we going to sand off of it? I don't know. But it all has to be completely flat like that before I paint it, if you want a light finish. And that's basically the only way you're going to get it. Now, there was a time when I was ogled by beautiful stunt ships and didn't have the philosophy of how to do a light finish. I just kept putting the paint on. Like Dan Winship said, paint it until the paint stand collapses. And that's why I ended up with 70-ounce airplanes. But after trying to hit the sub 60 mark, and figuring out how to do it, I'm passing it on to you. If you're going to build a sub 60 big airplane, this is the way you have to do it. Light wood. I don't care what anybody says, you have to start with light wood. You can't. Bob Hunt says you can take, if you have a piece of 4-pound 1/8 inch, you can use 10-pound 16th. It don't work that way. He may get away with it with whatever he's doing, but I just sanded a bunch off of that. But I'll guarantee you that you can take a piece of 1/8 inch 4-pound wood, and I'll take a piece of 1/8 inch 4-pound wood, and you can take a piece of 16th inch 10-pound wood or whatever, double the weight, and I'll build a lighter airplane with a 4-pound wood. I'm building all my wings out of 3/32. I used to build them out of 16th. Yeah, you can build a lighter airplane out of 16th, but you can't handle the damn thing. No sanding room left. But you gotta have good wood. I get ready to do another order, big order of wood. I don't know where it's going to come from. It was not going to be from China. That I looked at that wood that you guys were discussing on Stunt Hangar, the metric China, that's heavy stuff. No thanks. And just think, if you order $300 worth, yeah, you'll get $300 worth of RC wood. What are you going to do? Send it back to China? You're stuck. So I think it's going to be the old way of one stick at a time. Pick up a stick here, pick up a stick there. Always on the look for light wood. I really miss Brodax because I used to, when I go there, the first stop was the factory. And I'd go back in there and I'd weigh, I'd really like to get the blocks. You know, 4-pound block wood is hard to come by, and I'd take every one of them blocks out of the rack and weigh them. And if he had 3 of them, I'd take 3. If he had 1, I'd take 1. Whatever he had, I'd take. Got a friend, Gary Hayjack, that gave me, it's been years ago, I don't have any more left, gave me a box of block wood that was 3-pound wood that was used for flotation devices in the Navy. And I guess it had been waterlogged or whatever, but it dried out. It was light, good stuff. They were 2 inches thick by 8 inches wide and a foot long. I had a box of them. That was the nose ring on my Thunderbolt. Now, I showed on the video the lapping over of the silk span onto the other side, and you know it looks pretty ham-fisted on the video. But here I've got it sanded out. You can't even see it. You know, 3-4 coats of dope and sanded out. I think I'm basically done brushing paint on this model, on the wing and such. There won't be any more brushing going on because this getting those brush strokes out is pretty difficult. You could end up with an airplane. If you kept brushing and brushing and brushing, you could end up with an airplane at the end with brush strokes in it. So I'll stop brushing now at the 4-coat mark. I'm not even sure I got 4 coats. I think I got 3 on this. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's filled. The blemishes are out. Whatever it takes is what it takes. You know, you guys ask, what's the, what am I using for primer? Nothing. I missed DC 540 for the simple fact that it was a good guide coat. It was light. It stuck real good. They changed the formula on me, and you know, I asked that girl, "You guys gonna quit making this?" "Oh no." And they didn't quit making it. They just changed the formula so it don't work. Lacquer primer without the lacquer. Now, back in the days of acrylic lacquer, you know, it was no good because it would crack. Dope has some type of plasticizer in it because it's used on real airplanes, and it also has UV protection. The clear does. Of course, I don't know if not any of us takes their airplanes to the Nats and leaves it set out there all day long on the tarmac in the sun. They sit out there in the sun for a while, but most guys bring it in under the shade when they come in from under the shade. So how much UV protection do you need? You know, the guys were saying, well, that's why they paint them silver. No, it ain't. I'm telling you guys, using that silver, while it does work as a filler and a primer, good evening, Chris, is a bad way to do it. It's a bad, you know, I really like Wendy, and he really does a beautiful paint job. But that silver is a bad way to do things. That's something that's left over from the 60s. It has pore adhesion. It's heavy because it's metal. It's aluminum flake in it. Yeah, if you basically what I'm doing here with this white clear dope is the same thing he's doing with silver, but half the weight. He was just making his airplane silver and plastic looking so that he could put one Yeah, I bet he put more. Yeah, what Wendy's 1 coat is like my 20 coat. If you watch his videos, he really lays the paint on. And the finish is all about how much of this are you willing to do. I mean, are you willing to sit down here for... I'm going to sit here for the rest of the week and sand this stuff out. I'll probably have a different video going tomorrow instead of sanding. Because, yeah, I know you guys are rather bored of sanding. We'll talk about some videos on the internet or whatever on the Hangar Rash program tomorrow night. Because a guy can only take so much sanding. You know, when I get burnt out on sanding, that's saying something. But I've been sanding for 50 years. Wasn't sanding on an airplane, it was sanding on a motorcycle tank or bondo or something on a motorcycle. And trust me, sanding is a signature. I can tell you who sanded what. When the airplanes are sitting at the Nationals, I can tell you who painted it, who sanded it, who built it. Because it's a signature. Okay. Let's see what these flaps weigh, because I know what they weighed before I covered them. I'll tell you how much weight the dope took on the flaps. Paper's heavy, paint is heavy. Okay, let's see what it weighs. It gained 0.2 ounces, whatever that is. 0.2. How much would 0.2 be? Oh, shoot. So we'll go mode. This weighed 15. It gained 7. Gained a quarter ounce in paint and tissue. So by the looks of it, when it's painted, there'll be an ounce. So I finished the flap there. I have to sand on this wing and I got the trailing edge here pretty flat. There's a little bit of shiny there, a little shiny there. Very boring, but I'll stay on another 10 minutes, and tomorrow night on Hangar Rash, we'll see if I can't get some of them flying videos rolling. Got to do the open bays the same way too. You got to go around and get all the open bays done. You want to kind of stay off the cap strips, otherwise you'll cut through the paper. Doing all this takes considerable weight off of it too. But really where it stands out is in the final product. One coat and it's covered. Not a windy coat, just one coat, and that's it. You want it to look white when it's sitting on the ground. When it goes up in the air, you can see right through the wings. It's almost like clear white monocoat. In this case, it'd be white. In the case of my Monado back here, it's clear red monocoat. When it goes over the top, you can see right, the sunlight will shine right through it. Otherwise, you're carrying around too much paint. We hope that that the videos that I do for you guys help you build better models, some more competitive models. Weight equals horsepower. So if you're running a skimpy little 40, how can you get the horsepower of a 60? Well, cut the weight by 10 ounces. This is true in real airplanes too. They know. You know, if it takes 100 gallons of paint to paint a jetliner, that's just a figure I heard. 100 gallons, that's 700 pounds of weight, approximately. Maybe more. That's 100 gallons of top. So it's probably 1,000 pounds of paint. You know, when an airplane is 40 ton or 100 ton or whatever those airplanes weigh, F-14 is 20 ton. That's 40. They were 44,000 pounds, so they were 22 tons. And you add 30 gallon of paint to it. You know, a lot of weight. But Kenny Stevens, he's got a beautiful airplane. We asked him last year, how much clear paint did it take to do that clear paint job? 1 gallon. 1 gallon of paint. And I've had guys back in Oregon tell me they put a gallon of paint on and only add an ounce. My ass. Ain't no way. We got 5 minutes left. Just stay off the cap strips and go down the open bays and sand them up. 2 left here. Well, 2 in the tip. 1 in the tip. That paint will lay down just so nice. Chalking off real nice. Got away without a 3rd coat of you have the same flat painting jig. Yep. I got that one from the guy up in Cleveland. $5. Nobody wanted it. Got 2 of them. Probably nobody knew what it was. The bell crank in this airplane's from Cleveland too. I got that wing for $5, and I broke the wing right there and took the bell crank out of it. That thing wouldn't have lasted. The way that bell crank was mounted, wouldn't have lasted a flight. You can't mount bell cranks the old way with a floor and the 1 bolt through them anymore. No good. They will not stand up to a pull test. I will guarantee you that my bell crank will pull a car. You can hook a car up, hook these up to the ball hitch on my car, and pull the wing, and it would pull the car. Or the lines would break, but the bell crank wouldn't pull out. There's no way it can. The bell crank is not the weakest link in this setup. It's either the lines or, it would have to be the lines. There's not enough mechanical advantage on a 3-inch piece, 1/8-inch wire for you to bend that. Not by pulling it. All right, guys, been on for an hour. Look for Hangar Rash tomorrow night. We'll do something different. And I'll give it a try after this and see if I can get it to work. We'll critique some flights. So, till I see you again tomorrow night, fair winds, tight lines, see you.